Hi all, this is Beardodoom in editing mode for this week's podcast. We spoke on anniversaries of metal albums from 1986, 1996, 2006 and 2016. We spoke for about 2.5 hours on this. So what we've decided to do is split the episodes into two parts. So this will be part one, which will be 1986 and 1996. That'll be a good hour's worth of listening pleasure for you. And then our next episode will cover 2006 to 2016. So thanks very much for sticking with us, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye.
Hello and welcome to podcast episode 8. We are
We're on
almost
number
in
8.
almost in double digits. As always, I'm joined by the lovely Beardodoom. How are you, Beardo?
I'm all right. I'm all right. Is this the first one we've recorded of the new year? I'm
It
confused. It
is. Oh
is.
wait,
So
wait, is it? Yeah, it
belated
is.
belated Happy New Year to everybody. Welcome to 2026.
And what a 2026 is shaping up to be.
Mm.
And we have a very special guest on this episode as well, Andy Price. Hello, Andy. How are you?
Hi, how are you? You good?
Yes.
Absolute pleasure to be here, especially bearing in mind I know what we're going to talk about today. I'm very excited. Indulging my inner geek. Well, not even my inner geek, just my full-blown geek, I think.
For your full throttle geek. Yeah, thanks, Andy. It's so awesome to have you on here. So Andy plays bass for The Grey, Under the Crumbling Moon, and Wolves, and I'm sure there's some other projects happening as well. So we will have a chance to have a chat about those later on. But we are gathered here today to talk about 2026 anniversary albums.
We're gathered here today in the Church of Pod Destroyer.
This is essentially my favorite thing to do. We're going to member berries the shit out of the last 40 years. And I'm absolutely chomping at the bit. So yeah, welcome everybody. It is time to nerd out.
Get to it. So I will say the reason why I've asked Andy on is because, along with Beardo, Andy to me is like an oracle of metal and music collecting. So I knew that when I reached out to you, you'd be so hyped to do this episode, and you were. And how many pages of notes have you got?
So I made some notes just of records from the 40 year, 30 year, 20 year, and it got to like 2 full pages, and there's no notes about any of the albums at all. It's just names. It's 2 full A4 size just of names of records. We apparently we've got like 2 hours. Yeah, it's not enough time. We're gonna need 4, 5. It's gonna be a marathon, guys.
Yeah.
Buckle in. Right. How are we going to start this? Are we going to go all the way back to 40 years
We've got
ago?
to go all the way back to 1986, where I was a wee bairn. I was alive, but was just 5 years old. 5 years old in 86. Hadn't quite got my sort of metal feet, I would imagine. But actually, that's a good question to start with, even though, like, a quick tangent. Andy, what was your first like metal or rock experience, even as a kid, where you're like, okay, maybe this is for me?
So I wasn't really a kid. So in my household, music was not a thing at all. My mum has like nasty tinnitus and stuff. So silent house, no music, nothing at all till I was probably about 16. When she started working for a company called Collins Educational, which was owned by Rupert Murdoch. Rupert Murdoch at that point started pushing out Sky subscriptions to everybody because he made some stupid pledge to get to 1 million subscribers in a year or something, which no one was ever going to do. So he just started giving it out to everybody who worked for him. So we got Sky and I got MTV. So the first thing I saw that really made the little hairs on my back of my neck go up was, I think, Trigger Inside by Therapy. I saw the video for that.
Yeah.
And that was it. That blew the barn off for me, and something irrevocably shifted in my brain chemistry, and I just started seeking out heavier and heavier and heavier. And I think the next milestone for me was probably the year before one of the years we're going to look at here, which was Demanufacture by Fear Factory. Again, I saw Self-Biased Resistor video up on MTV, and just the bass drum
yeah,
just
yeah,
it did something to me, and I've never recovered from that.
yeah.
But yeah, so it was literally nothing, and then it was almost like a switch turned in my head. And I mean, the blur's on, so you probably can't see the background, but there's a hell of a lot of records in here. Something happened at that point, and I was cursed at some point, probably to die in an avalanche of vinyl. I think
Yeah,
they're
I
finally just
have worried about
buried
that
under records.
sometimes. Yeah, when I'm pulling CDs out of there, and I'm just like, well, that's how I'm going to die. So, what a way to
I've
go.
always been of the view that I have a faintly addictive personality. I'm glad I never touched drugs. You know, music is my addiction. That's where I go.
It's a mostly safe addiction to have as well. I think you never have to justify having too many CDs. So 86.
Not met my wife, have you? No.
I have a feeling that in this episode, I might just step out at some point and just leave you to grow on. But yeah.
Well, that's why me and my partner live in two different places, so I can fill this one up. So, so 86. Now, when I was looking at this, this was essentially, to me, I would say where heavy metal and sort of the birth of extreme metal, I would say, is 86. And sometimes you look at things. Now, I was thinking about this, weirdly laying in bed this morning, and I was like, if you think about 86 to now is 40 years. And the albums that came out, so I've picked some albums out from 86 that have come out from that time. So you got Cro-Mags, Age of Quarrel,
banger,
pivotal hardcore album. Although this is an 85 original, not the original first press, but there's a recorded version of 85. And then you've got, you know, some of inarguably the greatest thrash albums of all time. And I've just realized actually one of them I've not pulled out, which is bonkers. Metallica's Master of Puppets, my personal favorite Metallica album. Slayer's Reign in Blood, and it was Metallica I've not pulled out for some reason. Slayer's Reign in Blood.
The first one you mentioned when we were discussing about it in message.
Yeah. Dark Angels, Darkness Descends. Creator, Pleasure to Kill. Like this to me is like the tip of extreme metal, like where what I love came to be. Celtic Frost to Megatherion as well. And what I was thinking about 86 to now is you can listen to any one of those albums and you compare it to 2026 metal. They fit right in. There's nobody's sitting there thinking, well, that was 40 years ago. But if you were to think back from 86 to 1946, it's the same period of time, you know, in distance.
Yeah.
And the progression in music between 46 to 86 couldn't be more different to where we are from 86 to 2026.
Some of the seeds of it were there. I mean,
like rock and roll
blues. Well, the blues scene was you know, from the Delta blues in the 20s, that was pulling into the electric blues of the Chicago scene, sort of mid 40s, which really, I suppose, didn't kick off properly until the 50s. But nonetheless, it was still, you know, the seeds of it are there, because that when the blues sort of shifted into that more electric space, that's when we started kind of getting, not the birth of the riff, but the kind of the flavor of the riff as it is now. So the seed of it is there, but yeah, I mean, the shape of it, I suppose, is there, but you can't look at the two and say directly they are similar things, because they're really not.
No. But it got me thinking, has cultural progression, has music progression slowed? And are we actually, this is the philosophical aspect of it, have we reached peak metal in 2026?
It is interesting because you think about the current state of music and how many genres keep coming back. In, like, we'll talk about new metal the other episode. New metal keeps having resurgence every now and then. But what has been like the newest subgenre? I remember when black gaze became a thing, and I was like, oh my god, this is saved metal for me. But then again, that's a mix of black metal and shoegaze. But I think Vnder, we were talking about crippling alcoholism. For me, that sound is something new. I know it kind of taps into the old goth stuff, But actually, for me, that kind of genre is really new territory. But are we going to see some new stars? We can't even fathom yet. We can't even imagine what they're going to be.
So crippling alcoholism is interesting because for me, you say it feels like something new. For me, it's just a bit of goth and post punk.
Yeah.
And I've kind of heard it before. Or if I'm honest, they do it very well, to be fair, and the little blends around the edges are really clever. But I kind of, to your point, you look at that kind of birth of thrash, and that was something that was net new. No one had ever really heard that before. Doubling down on pace and aggression in the way that they did. Absolutely unusual. It's completely different from anything that had really happened before that. But what I see now is kind of cycles and splintering of existing genres or blending genres together. But I think the baseline is quite established. And it's just how people splinter away from that or combine different themes from that to create something that feels new. But I think if you look at it, really, the ingredients are still kind of the same. And they were largely established, I suppose, mid to late 70s with kind of the doom stoner scene coming out of Sabbath. And then to an extent, the big thrash boom from there. And then some of the alt rock stuff that happened in the 90s. I think that's, I guess you could argue the new metal piece as well has that kind of blending of metal and hip hop and rap and such has made. That's kind of fundamentally a lot of the ingredients of which is used now, which is blended. Because even black metal is kind of an extension of thrash. The early black metal records are basically just thrash, but a bit more evil. That sounds horribly reductive, and somebody's probably going to shout at me now. But
what do we say though, Beardo? Beardo, we say about opinions though.
Other opinions are available. Like this is a free opinion show. We make sure.
The other thing you could say is everyone's got an opinion, and Andy's an asshole. That also works.
Yeah, well, I've only been speaking to you for 10 minutes, so I haven't. But I mean, the 86 again was sort of the nucleonic stage of death metal. You had Chuck Schuldina's Mantas, Possessed. Those sorts of things coming out, and that's not even covering kind of the more kind of hardcore scene that was bubbling under at that time. Which really, I would say, other than Cro-Mags, probably didn't break out over this side of the pond so much.
Only thing I'd have added to that would have been Bad Brains. Eye Against Eye is 86 as well. That's an absolute smasher of a record and genre shaping in its own right. I've had conversations about Bad Brains with people, but that's the record for me where they kind of found their feet and really. That was Bad Brains. They got everything from that has been kind of watered down for me after that. But that's a banger of an album. Absolute smasher.
But to think these records are 40 years old now is insane. And I was racking my brain as to when I saw Metallica play Master of Puppets in full. And I thought that was fairly recently. It wasn't. That was 2006 Download for its 20-year anniversary.
Oh, wow. I was at that. I've not felt old in this conversation until just that moment.
Yeah. That genuinely frightened the life out of me. I was like, wow, that was 20 years ago. And if you think when we get to 2006, again, this is like this weird time zone thing. Puppets being celebrated for its 20th anniversary 20 years ago, and to me what we're going to talk about for 2006 doesn't feel that long ago in my head. Time's weird, man. Time is weird.
It's right. I mean 86 is weird for me because I wasn't listening to music in 86. I was 8 at that point. I wasn't listening to music at all. And so what I've discovered of 86, my list for 86 is shorter than yours, if only because that's what I've gone back to discover. And I listened to a lot of second gen stuff before I've tracked back to find the originators. So Rain in Blood's a really good example. I listened to a lot of Walls of Jericho, a lot of Stamping Ground, a lot of what you call Slayer core, and that kind of hardcore that's taken from Slayer's template. And then I've tracked back into Slayer. And Napalm Death, I think Scum came out around 86 as well. It's either 85 or 86.
I did look into this because I was going to pull Scum out, but actually it is 87 is
Okay.
Scum. Yeah.
Okay.
But they
We'll
were
save-
still an active. Sorry, Maria, go on.
I was going to say we'll save that one for next year.
Yeah. But they were an active band in 86. They had the sort of original three-piece. Total tangent here. Did anybody watch Harry Hill's new podcast on YouTube?
No, I had no idea he's got one.
with Stuart Lee, and they had a genuinely good conversation about Napalm Death on Harry Hill and Stuart Lee's podcast. And I was smiling from ear to ear listening to it.
So how did you find out about that? Did you find out about that from Napalm Death, or because you're a Harry Hill fan?
A little from column A, a little from column B, to be fair. But it was presented in the algorithm, and it was called Orienteering with Napalm Death. And that is episode 1 of Harry Hill's podcast. So I would recommend it because there's a fun era relevant 86, 87 anecdote about Napalm Death on Stuart Lee and Harry Hill's conversation there. So
I love it when celebrities that I respect are like, yeah, no, I love this obscure metal band. It's like, yes, yeah. one of us. Yeah. Love it.
I've got nothing to add for 1986 because I wasn't alive. But also, like I said in another episode, I completely bypassed the whole thrash thing even when I got into metal. So actually, I thought I'd leave the 1986 stuff for you guys, but I'm all about 2006.
I mean, like I say, I think 1996 is kind of where music really sort of started hitting for me. But there's some bangers in 86, and I can't disagree with you on the Metallica piece. Master of Puppets is probably one of my favorite records that they've done. I think it's that and Justice for All are the two that cemented my sort of love of. Ironically, as a bass player, I like And Justice for All. Who'd have thought? I just like to imagine my own bass lines over it. I think they'd be nowhere near as good, I suspect. But you know,
Justice for Jason.
Yeah, like a hashtag. But yeah, no, Master of Puppets is just an absolute smasher. And again, with my bass player hat on, just listening to some of the stuff that Cliff did on that record, there's just some stunningly beautiful bass lines on that record.
Yeah. Orion, and The Thing That Should Not Be is what a riff. Like just I tell you, people who don't listen to Metallica for whatever reason, and they have this conception of the band that they are. Just listen to The Thing That Should Not Be, and you're like, shut the fuck up, listen to this. know, and try and tell me they're not a heavy band. Simple as that.
But it's funny because some of the seeds of what they ended up doing on the Black Album, you can kind of hear in Master of Puppets. Everyone talks about how much of a massive evolution the Black Album was. And it was only because it was a bit of a left turn away from the like stupid levels of complexity and Justice for All. But a lot of the big riffage that they delivered on Black Album, not one of my favorite records of theirs, but there are some undeniable riffs on it. You can trace that. The DNA of that is already there in Master of Puppets.
It's the simplicity.
They just went down this weird technical alley with Justice for All, which personally I'm all here for because I love a bit of technical. But people talking about like the Black Album being this kind of big surprise. It's not. If you go back and listen to Master of Puppets, there's lots of that kind of songwriting buried a little bit maybe under some of the fast parts in Master of Puppets, but the big old riffs are there. I'm all about the big old riffs. Love it.
Agreed. Any other 86 gems that we've not covered here?
I thought Megadeth was so Peace Sells was 86, but I don't think that's right. I think that was me mistaking it. I thought that might be 87, so I might be wrong with that one.
Let me just check the.
He's got his CD in front of him.
Let me get my magnifying glass. I did look this up, and I do believe it is 86. Yeah, Capitol Records 86.
Because that's an undeniable thrash classic.
Yeah.
And that's speaking in the week that I'm probably giving away when you record your podcast now, but speaking in the week when Dave Mustaine's released his last Megadeth record, which this is Andy's opinion, completely opinion. Other opinions are available, which is absolute dog shit, I might add. But Peace Sells is an absolute smasher. It's young, vital, angry. In a way, it's a really interesting contrast with Master of Puppets. Master of Puppets was much more considered. There's craft there, you know what I mean? Whereas Peace Sells, you've got the intelligence and the integrity in the riffs and in the structure, and it is clearly thought out. But it just feels like they got in the room and were just really angry, and they recorded what came out. Whereas you don't necessarily get that sense of anger in the Metallica record. It feels a lot more professional, a lot more polished. Whereas Peace Sells just feels like what, four angry men being angry in a room loudly. There's a real energy to it and a real power to it, which I think sadly Dave lost about 20 years ago. But
very much so. I think that era Metallica probably kept had the anger for their live shows. Because you watch back on those eras, they're playing everything twice as fast, twice as heavy, just pure snarl. And I'll be honest, like I wouldn't have known. So my Megadeth kind of introduction was Euthanasia. And that was like my first Megadeth record that I bought at the time, and I worked backwards. And they're fairly consistent, I would say. Megadeth, they've had some missteps.
Oh yeah,
for sure. Like Risk,
Risk, just the whole album is a misstep, I think.
Yeah. But we'll come back to Megadeth in 30 years time from 86 when we get there. So should we move on to what I would say is my formative real, this is my shit years. When I was pulling out my CDs, I noticed that my 96 pile was significantly higher than my 86 and 2006. And Metalmance, please butt in at any point you want to. Have you got any 96 records? Like anything on your...
I will just have a quick look, but I don't think so, because back in 96, when I was alive and I was a solid 5 years old, I was still listening to Vnder Boys and Backstreet Boys and Spice Girls.
Who wasn't? Come on, back, baby.
I'll just have a really quick swiss through. I know who you're going to mention, Beardo, first thing. Acid Bath. No. Oh, hang on. No, sorry, there is something for me.
This is live podcasting, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, yes, no, ooh.
Yeah. I should be more prepared.
We never said we were professional. We set that up very upfront. So
Cryptopsy, None So Vile.
None So Vile. Yeah.
And I've seen them play the album in full. I don't think it was an anniversary. Or it might have been. No, it wouldn't have been. I thought I might have seen them for 2016 when it would have been the 20-year anniversary. But no, I would have seen them in 2017, 2018. But obviously it wasn't death metal back then, but that's an album I really dig. But I don't think there's much else. So I will just... Oh, hang on. No, Napalm Death. I don't want to steal your thunder, though.
It's in the pile.
Yeah.
Oh, that's not on my list. Napalm Death. Is that Diatribes?
It is Diatribes.
Oh,
over to you.
Me too.
That album gets, I don't know why, but that album, that era gets so much crap, and I don't know why. It's great.
It is my favorite Napalm era. From Fear, Emptiness, Despair to Words from the Exit Wound.
Exit Wound.
4 just banger after banger records. I do understand. I can get it. I can get it kind of later on because Mastodon, for example, after Blood Mountain, I'm a bit like, you know.
Same.
Yes.
It's all downhill from Remission for me.
Yeah. Although the last record was pretty good. Hush and Grim was actually
it's the same as any double record. Usually, if it's a double record, if you edit a bunch of stuff out, you've got a banging one.
I agree with that. I agree with that. So if I Gojira as well, they're another one. I'll take the Link and From Mars to Sirius. Everything after that, not bothered about. So if you got into Napalm at the Scum era to Fear, Emptiness, Despair onwards, I can kind of, but also I'm like, what the hell's wrong with you? Don't you like riffs or something? Like, you know,
are you allergic to groove?
Yeah. Do you not like fun and riffs? So I will wait till 2006 to tell my Cryptopsy story.
Okay.
It's not entirely safe for YouTube, so I'll have to do a condensed version of it as well. So okay, 96.
Just point out what I need to. I'll just say the word bleep every now and then. Bleep.
Yeah. So Andy, 96. Let's go.
Oh Christ, this is a long ass list. Because there's a bunch of genuinely fantastic records that came out in this year. So we were talking about it before we set up on this, but Neurosis Through Silver and Blood is, I would arguably say, it's definitely my top 5 records of all time. It might be my favorite record of all time. It's certainly my favorite Neurosis record. It's
totally agree.
Suffocating mass of noise and riffs and atmosphere and horror and just brilliance. I remember listening to it in a sound station in Virgin Megastores back in the day in Nottingham, where I lived, because I didn't know about the really good record store in Nottingham at that time called Selectadisc, because I was such a noob to the whole thing still.
Okay.
And put it on, and because they set it up so it didn't start with the first track. They set it up so it started off with Locust Star, and it cracks into that riff pretty quickly, and you're like, oh, and just the layered vocal. And I was like, right, no, I'm buying this. So I've still got the Iron. I know you were telling me you've got multiple versions. I mean, I can gazump you on that. Sorry, just let me kick the cat off. I can gazump you because I've got the original press CD and the dodgy digipack, which falls apart at the first look. I've got it on vinyl as well, and this is you can't see it because of my blur, but it's an OG press from 1996. Which only came through the post of the day and cost me way too much money. But
I know how much that costs, and well done. That's well worth it. So
to be fair, I got a good deal on it, but nonetheless, it's still more money than I would care to say out loud. But that kind of, we talk about brain chemistry changing moments. That was the point at which I found out and discovered post metal in any real material way. It hadn't really clicked with me before that. But it's near perfect. But I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff on my list. I don't want to do lots of it all at once. I want other people to have a go, because I could just go off for the next hour.
Let's talk Neurosis, because I agree, it is ground zero for Cult of Luna, ISIS the band.
What you think the separatist movement in the Arab states heard Neurosis and were like, right, just jihad.
We need a name for this, and they were like, we fucking love Panopticon, but my introduction to Neurosis was, I think, so I used to buy Terrorizer magazine a lot. I've still got a giant pile of metal mags in the back there, and Locust Star, the video, was played on Into the Pit, which was the back end of Headbangers Ball, the last 20 minutes during the 90s. So 90s, I don't think people understand how conceptually mainstream a lot of extreme metal was at the time, because they were just playing the videos on MTV. Like, it was not unusual to see Neurosis. Just trying to think of the town, like Samael. I've got the band that should not be named, featuring that guy that did that thing, Philosophem. But they were playing those videos on Into the Pit. And as a wee 15-year-old, I'd been sort of listening to Carcass, Pantera, Sepultura, for
all of whom cracked out some banging albums in 1986.
Oh yeah, we'll get there. Yeah. In 3 years. So I think I was a 15-year-old listening to Neurosis, which is, for an album of that magnitude, like it is, like you say, just all encompassing. It is the nastiest metal album of all time. Just the way it can make you feel like it's heavy conceptually, it's heavy in riff. You can't listen to it. You can't just pick a song out and go, I'm going to listen to that. It's front to back. You have to listen to the entire thing every time.
Yeah. It introduced me to the concept of the quiet loud dynamic in a way that no other record has. So I can't remember what song it is. It is Strength of Fates. And literally it's like an 8 or 9 minute long song. I would say the first 3 minutes are almost silent. It's almost silent, and you're straining to hear it with headphones on. There's a plaintive little guitar part and a really quiet sort of high-end percussion part, some keening kind of singing, but it's ultra quiet, and your ears get normalized to this ultra quiet tone, and then it builds a little bit in volume and a little bit of volume over the course of the next 3 minutes till you get to about the 5.5, 6 minute mark, and then all of a sudden, just like dB meter goes straight up, and it's just big riffs, and it's the first time I've felt like I was being. I initially thought the CD was broken. There was something wrong with it because it was so quiet, and then it all kind of made sense. And I've never felt so kind of emotionally exhausted by one song. And I'm a little bit older than you, sadly, so I was probably about 17, 18 at the time. And it's like it was like being hit by a car. It was genuinely incredible. And it still is. Every time I put it on now, it still is. With the additional benefit of a little bit of vinyl crackle over the beginning as well.
It's interesting you're saying this, Andy, because you're saying that it's where you discover post metal, and then obviously me being a fan of like the projects you're involved in, and I'm like, wow, that's really saying something considering the post metal that you're playing. So that's really interesting to kind of see how that kind of came about.
It's interesting because I've only started playing post metal in the last few years. I've been in hardcore bands most of my musical life has been hardcore, sort of mostly, if I'm being honest, ripping off Every Time I Die, which is kind of what we do in Wolves. But
no bad thing.
I don't think it's a bad thing either. Personally, I have a good time with it. But so I mean, this era was formative for some of that as well. I mean, you've got some incredible records that made a massive difference to me in terms of hardcore. Vision of Disorder's debut album came out in '96. You've got Strife's In This Defiance, which is it's such a great record. That, I mean, I'd argue that the imprint was better, but that
controversial.
No, it's the production on the imprint. The production on imprint is like being hit by a sander. It's amazing. It's so rough, it's so raw. Whereas that, I think, is maybe a little bit more produced. Ray Capo, I think, from Shelter produced it.
That's right.
And it's a really good record, but I think with a little bit more abrasive, it'd have been better. But songwriting, you can't fault it. But Strife's In This Defiance, incredible record that came out in '96. Amazing production. It's the best they've ever sounded. Plus, you've got Igor Cavalera playing drums for them. I think Chino turns up on a song as well. Just absolutely incredible record. Snapcase's Progression Through Unlearning came out in '96. Two solid like victory records as well.
The snappiest snare of all time, which I love the Snapcase snare sound.
And his vocal as well. I mean, you hear the Snapcase snare and that vocal, and it cannot be anybody other than Snapcase. And I've heard a couple of bands kind of sort of venture into that territory. There's a new band called Spirit Killer, who are well worth checking out if you like Snapcase, mostly because they do quite a credible impression of Snapcase in places.
Okay.
But they're really good. But you can put on a Snapcase song from anywhere in their catalog, and it sounds like Snapcase.
It's them.
That's brilliant. But yeah, I mean, so Dead Kai's Fixation of a Coworker came out in '96. Bloodlet and Theogen, that's an absolute riff beast, but still firmly rooted in that hardcore space. Completely formative for the kind of the taste in music that I sort of moved into, as it was kind of moving maybe out a little bit out of the kind of slightly noisecore stuff and into some of the noisecore stuff that was coming down the line. But that straight ahead hardcore bit that sat in the middle, yeah, absolutely formative for me. My musical career wouldn't have been what it was without those records. But I'd also argue that the Neurosis record that came out that year, the Cult of Luna brought out something that year as well, didn't they?
96. No,
that wouldn't be that'd be later on.
Yeah, that is later on.
So,
yeah.
But then you look at some of the other riff-based records as well. So a lot of the southern rock thing was happening around then. So Corrosion of Conformity's Wise Blood, Crowbar's Broken Glass,
which is my favourite Crowbar record for sure.
My second favourite Crowbar record. Oddfellows Rest has to be number one for me. But
yeah, I like the punchier, slightly shorter, less. It's less introspective than Oddfellows. Broken Glass, it does what it says on the tin. Broken Glass. It is 40 odd minutes of just Crowbar just punching you in the face repeatedly.
Kurt Winstein throughout this maintains his role as overlord of the BBR, or the big bastard riff, as I like to call it.
Yeah.
It's just I mean, so there's lots of that stuff, and we've already mentioned Acid Bath as well. All that kind of southern rock, southern groove stuff. I Hate God, I think, had a record out that year.
Yeah, Dope Sick was 96. Yeah, I didn't get too carried away pulling stuff out because my pile would have ended up like Jenga. But we need to mention Acid Bath as many times as we can, because apparently it's good for the TikTok algorithm these days.
I'm excited to see them this year. I managed to get my tickets for the Manchester show.
You'll go. I may be there, so maybe I'll hit you up and we can say hi physically. 96. Now. So let's talk about.
I'm surprised you're not jumping straight in with Dead Guy.
I think we've mentioned Dead Guy a lot on these podcasts so far. So a couple of huge records for me during that era, Cradle of Filth's Vampire.
Yeah.
Dusk and Her Embrace. I didn't know they came out in the same year, but they did. Or at least that's what Wikipedia tells me. So
I didn't have Vampire on my list. I did have Dusk, because that is a banging record.
Just the bombacity, and just I really. It's kind of a shame what Cradle is these days. They're a joke of who they used to be, frankly.
Yep.
But that era, when you're just a 15-year-old kid, it just takes you. It used to take you on a journey. This like weird sort of gothic, folksy, just distinctly British sound that they had. And they still came across as being untouchable and like evil, basically, because thank goodness they didn't have social media back then to just ruin everything. For that type of band, and just their artwork, and considering these albums are again 30 years old, that the production on so many of these records they don't make albums today that sound as good as these records. Like, in fact, I think thank goodness we're over the kind of the brick wall era, and actually we do have more space and more organicness to it. But no records sound as good as Dusk and Vampire, and to this day. What else is in my pile? I think this is probably a controversial one. Not controversial in that people either love it, really love it, or they're like hate it because it sounded so different for the time. And that's Ministry's Filth Pig.
Interesting. So I went on a journey with this record because I love Psalm 69. Psalm 69 was brilliant. Mine is a terrible thing to taste. Loved that record. Thought it was great. Came to Filth Pig, Not gonna lie, when I first heard it, hated it.
Okay.
Absolutely loathed it with a passion.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was awful. In fact, I think I got rid of the CD
Okay.
when I first got it. And then I've come back to it fairly recently. I had a bit of a Ministry kick, probably I would say 2-3 years ago, when they did one of the reissues of Mind is a Terrible Thing to Taste.
Hmm.
So I picked up that on vinyl. I already had Psalm 69, and they did Filth Pick at the same time. So I
Yeah.
picked that up as well. I
Yeah.
came back to it, and I was like, actually, no, this is really good. This is just different ministry. This is sludge ministry.
Sludge ministry. Exactly that. And it is an about turn, like because Psalm 69 was very, very industrial, very thrashy. It was a natural progression from The Mind is a Terrible Thing to Taste and Land of Rape and Honey and all of those sorts of things. It sounded natural. Filth Pig, absolute about turn. You know, Paul Barker and Al Jurgensen just strung out on whatever they were, consuming at the time. And again, it's just a nasty, a filthy record. Like it really is. Filth Pig, I think, is
It's
so
well named,
apt for how it sounds. And I just wish. I think there's very specific times and sounds of bands, and it's what they are going through in their lives at the time. So you couldn't repeat it. It's a very moment of time record. And I know Ministry's doing a record with Paul Barker. This I think will probably be out this year, and it will be their final one. But this is my original copy that I won on the Radio 1 Rock Show with John Kavanagh. And I even remember the name, the question that was asked, and it was like, name Ministry's bass player. And I rang up 08, whatever it was, 0898. Hello, it's Paul Barker. And then I won that. And then we've got I think sorry, go on.
No, it's all right. I was thinking I've never won a metal competition, but I did win Letter of the Month 1 month in Rock Sound.
Oh, awesome, really.
And my prize would have been like some goods from, I don't know, a rock clothing label. But I don't know if I had a good disagreement and I never got my clothes. That's a very like underwhelming story. But I was thinking, I'm like, oh yeah, have I ever won a competition? It wasn't really a competition. Just Letter of the Month.
Yeah. So I got my original one. And then I think we should talk about some of the real heavy hitters of that year in terms of commercial success. We didn't talk about Napalm Death, did we? Diatribes.
Did not.
So we got I've picked out 5 that I think sort of represent the mainstream metal. Even compared today, it's not mainstream. Korn's Life is Peachy.
Yeah, I figured we ought to talk about this only because this will be the point, surely, when Miss Mance is going to join in and get excited. New metal. Yeah. We know you love a bit of
that. like I said, Korn last year at Download were incredible.
I saw you at the beginning of Korn.
Oh yeah.
She'd been looking for me all day because we'd been there
all weekend.
And finally got us and finally found me just before, I think, the last hour of the festival or something.
You were buying a coffee.
I was buying a coffee. You ran up to me in a bright yellow rain Mac, I think. It's like luminous yellow.
I had my yellow wellies on as well.
That's it. Yeah, I remember. Gave me a hug and said hello. And then we started watching Korn, and
then you were straight in the pit. No.
I was like straight back to my chair with my cup of tea.
So we got Korn. Life is Peachy.
So
great
what
record.
Did you think to Life is Peachy?
I love it. It's not the one I return to much, to be fair. And really, I'm only first 3 with Korn.
Same.
I think it's one of those things that I love to speak longer about this type of stuff, but back then, Korn didn't have this sort of cheesiness that people think that they have. Like you could listen to Napalm Death and Corn and Brutal Truth and Neurosis all at the same time, and they were. I remember I saw Corn first in '97, I think. Um, and all the big burly metalheads were there. Like, and if everyone's like, oh no, that was shit, I didn't listen to that, you're a liar. You are 100% a liar.
I went in quite hard on the new metal thing when it was that age. Loads of bands. I'm with you. I'm a first 3 record guy. I loved the first one. I really like the third record. Life is Peachy was a bit disappointing for me. There's definitely some songs in it that are filler, which for quite a short record feels a bit odd. And for me, this is one of the tipping point records where Ross Robinson's production started to become a bit of a problem.
I'm
not a fan of the production on that record at all, and it kind of puts me off a little bit, which is a shame because the great songs on it are genuinely great. But I find it quite difficult to listen to. The guitar tone sounds a bit sort of thin and laid in a weird way. The bass tone, he's knocked a lot of the low end off it, and it's a shame because there's some great songs on it. I mean, there is some mediocre stuff on there as well. I still don't know why they chose Adidas as one of the singles. It's just a poor joke song.
Yeah, I would say nobody liked that even then.
Yeah.
Like I remember Headbangers Ball, if it came on, if I'd recorded it, I would just like fast forward through the video because I was like, I hate this. But they 3 records in a row. Like the end tracks on the first 3 Korn records are essentially doom riffs. And you could pull those riffs out, stick it into a Neurosis record. You wouldn't hear, nobody would bat an eyelid. I think people, I think I said this before, Mance. I don't think people appreciate now just how heavy Korn are and were. They're heavy band. So yeah, rattling through Sepultura's Roots.
Yep.
Discuss.
I thought that was earlier. Was that really 96?
Nope.
96. Yeah.
Yeah, good boy. Slap bang in the middle of the corner side because obviously Mr. Davis appears on one of the tracks. Ross Robinson production, peak Ross Robinson as well.
It's a great record. I love it. I can see it was the end of Sepultura. It is a natural end point. Obviously, I know that they have continued on. The zombie corpse of Sepultura. Personal opinion. Other opinions are available.
This is the one where I revised my opinion. So we played Bloodstock a couple of years ago, and Sepultura were playing at the same time. And I wasn't that interested. Our drummer Steve said, "You've got to watch him if only for the drummer." So it's Eli, whatever his name is, who's in Slipknot now. That's the fan. And watched them. I really enjoyed it. I thought they were great. I thought Derek was great. The newer songs were really good. Anyway, that's not the topic at hand. But
they didn't do themselves any favor, I think, retaining the Sepultura name. I think if they'd rebranded, I think they've done well for themselves. But I think they should have rebranded.
Sorry.
I was going to say my exposure to Roots was, it was when I was really getting into metal, and I was just kind of hoovering up everything I could find, and those kind of Monsters of Rock metal compilation CDs that you get in supermarkets, I would just like round them up, buy them, and then just like consume them. And it was on one of those where it was the song Roots, and I was like, oh god, yeah, this is really heavy. I'd never heard. Still really wasn't into death metal or anything then, but I just remember it, like I'd never really heard like such big grooves before. And I think at this point I'd already heard like the more recent stuff that I know you were just talking about, and I think that was like the first time I heard of them. But then listened to Roots, I was like, it's a completely different band, but I just couldn't believe how heavy it was. And it was on this Monsters of Rock compilation album with like Deep Purple and ZZ Top, when he had like Sepultura, and I'm like, oh god, so I just had that on repeat. And I remember ripping it onto like my MP3 player when I was in college and just having that on repeat. just like a volume up, trying to be like really cool and hoping that everyone could hear it from my headphones.
Yeah.
Just because it was such a groovy, heavy song. But
I remember when it came out, it was an absolute culture shock because everyone had gotten used to the much thrashier tones of like Beneath the Remains and Arise, and then it kind of toned it down to something groovier for Chaos AD. I mean, Territory is still one of my favorite songs of all time. Absolute banger.
Yeah.
And then Roots came out, and I think it's the production, but I think they'd simplified some of the parts and slowed some bits down here and there as well. So it just felt like its own compact, different beast. I'm completely with you. It did feel like the end. It felt like a natural stop point. Albeit even then, it was still a shock when they actually did split. But nonetheless, it's a really interesting record. Is it my favorite Sepultura record? Probably not. But it's still interesting to listen to in a way that some records kind of aren't, because even once you've heard them a few times, once you've heard Roots a few times, you can still listen to it on headphones and hear something you've not heard before, because there's such dense layering of the instrumentation on it. It's a genuinely fascinating record.
It's probably Paolo's best bass work on that, and they really brought that up front. If you like, their live shows around this era are just absolutely crushing. Have you followed the Pink Pop festival YouTube channel? They've just remastered the 96 Sepultura show on it. It's got over 1 million views on it, because like people are just like, it is them at their absolute peak. And the live Brixton Academy records, which came to be their last show with that lineup. Again, everything's being played twice as fast, twice as heavy. It's sloppy, but in a good way, where they're just like firing all cylinders, and you can barely keep up with where they're going. But yeah, I love Roots, but it's not one I return to on a regular basis. Shall I continue on?
Yeah, go on.
Let's push on.
I might save that one. Typo's October Rust.
Oh, is that 96?
That is a 96.
Okay. That would be on my list if I realised it was 96. I love that record.
And just looking back at what came out that year, it's insane, isn't it?
Something in the water. There must have been something in the water.
There really was, yeah. Typo's October Rust. It was my introduction to Typo, I think.
Same.
Although on Headbangers Ball they used to play Black Number One and Christian Woman a lot, the videos, which were on Bloody Kisses. I always find the internet fawning of Peter Steele an interesting conundrum. 2026 Peter Steele would have been cancelled to shit.
So it would be very problematic.
It's like he'd open his mouth and then it'd be done.
Yeah.
Listen to some of the themes on those Typo records and the Carnival records before that.
Yeah. Don't look at Carnival lyrics, people that have not experienced them. But what an enigma, that entire band. Again, like, culture is not producing people like that anymore. You've got this like nearly 6.5 feet tall, like, baritone, god to a lot of people, man god. And it's just it's crazy. And they took up so much of like Kerrang and Metal Hammer's like cover space at the time. And just having like Virgin Megastore, like full Typo Negative displays and things like that. It's a time that people, I know it sounds a bit sort of, but it's like, if you weren't there and experiencing it, you don't understand how mainstream really, really, really heavy metal was then. I think I've just segued into something pretty well here.
Ooh.
Pantera's Great Southern Train Kill.
My favorite Pantera album. I get so much shit for that, but I love that record. Suicide Note Part 1 and Part 2. Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
just does stuff
yeah,
to me.
yeah. Um, Again, an extreme album. Like to go from Far Beyond to Trendkill, you know, and and I think it's sold really well in the UK as well. Like
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
talking tens of thousands of albums sold for Trendkill. Um, but their whole Trendkill vibe was like anti-success, you know, that lyrically, you know, the
Yeah.
trend is dead. And you know, that sort of like, yeah, sort of viscerally pushing against being successful, and yet it just became a successful record.
Sam Blaster production as well. I mean,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
production is just
yeah.
red line throughout. It's incredible.
Is it Terry Date? Terry Date production, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, Drag the Waters, tens, 13 steps, that flow of those, you know, again, just firing on all cylinders. It would be a couple of years before I got to see Pantera, because that was Ozfest 98. Would have
I was at
been,
that show as well.
somehow I knew you would have been. You know,
I mean, that was a banging bill. Pantera, Fear Factory, Neurosis were on that as well, right? Weren't they?
they
They opened, I
they
think.
were on, but I don't remember seeing Neurosis, which
I think
is
they opened on that
they
one. It's
did,
either
yeah,
that one
yeah.
or one of the Monsters of Rock ones. I can't remember. Either way, yeah, I remember. I remember that set.
Yeah, we
Anyway, sorry,
member
carry on.
berries, everything. Yeah, yeah. But yeah, Trendkill, great album. I wouldn't say it's my favorite Pantera. Cowboys remains my favorite Pantera record.
I struggle with that record.
Very few people will go Cowboys is my favorite.
There's some
And
incredible songs on it, but there's a little bit too much cheese on it for me. Just a
okay,
touch too
yeah,
much,
that's
too much
fair. That's
parmesan
fair.
for me.
There is a little bit. And then, so last but not least, for the kind of more mainstreamy stuff, is Tool's Enema.
I was wondering will
Um,
we get to this one. Perfect
Now,
answer.
my confession is I didn't like Tool in '96.
Okay.
I found them when we started going to like rock, you know, rock nights around sort of '97, and Tool would be constantly played, and just couldn't gel with it at the time. But going back to it, I've sort of learned to like it, I think, over the years.
So this is the record that got me into Tool, actually. Again, it's another Virgin Megastore's listing post special, which is mental when you think of the sheer number of F-bombs in that on that record. But yeah, no, that was the one that got me, and I kind of tracked back from there into Undertow, which I liked, but it didn't feel quite as immediate.
Oh, Undertow's now my favorite Tool record. So
I love the production on it, and there's some bits in it I love. Sober's still an incredible song, but for me, Enema is still the peak of it. I love what they did after that, but it always feels to me like up to Enema is one band, and after Enema is another band, because of the change in personnel.
Yeah,
It makes a really big difference to the way that
yeah,
they wrote
yeah.
songs. But Enema for me it's the first one I got to. It's always going to be one that I love the most. I still know the lyrics to Eulogy off the top of my head, because I listened to it so much. You know, it's a genuinely brilliant record, and audacious as well for its time. It was that my favorite thing about it. I can't remember which track it is, but there's a track which ends one of the sides on the LP, which is designed to sound like the end of an LP, but
Yes,
it's not
yeah,
the end of the
yeah.
LP. There's another song after it, but it's just designed to mess with the people listening to it, and the audacity and just general obstreperousness of the band. Yes, I use the word obstreperousness. You're welcome. It just I love that. I love that they took it to the place, and to be fair, they've continued messing with people for the rest of their career. But at the time, it just felt kind of fresh, and it still does when I listen to it. It's still a great record. I saw
I
them
think
on
we've
the
lost
stadium tour a couple of years ago, and they played a couple of songs from this record, and it was still my favorite part of the set.
Yeah. I think we've lost that kind of playfulness with the physicality of CDs and vinyl, and locked grooves at the end of vinyl, where it's just like spinning around, or not, like you say, not finishing secret tracks on CDs, all of that kind of stuff. It's
which
gone.
we could do a whole episode on hidden tracks, secret tracks, because that's something I really miss.
Yeah, especially some of the hidden tracks. Some of them are just faffing about. I remember the one at the end of Science by Incubus was just a lot of faffing about.
Yeah.
But then again, you've got other ones like the hidden track or the series of hidden tracks at the end of the various different versions of Elephant Riders by Clutch. There's like 3 different versions with 3 different hidden tracks depending on which version of the CD you got.
Yeah.
But all 3 of those tracks are gold. And so you'd never know which version of the CD you got until you put it in.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant. But yeah, anyway, that feels like a really good podcast idea. You should bank that one.
Yeah, note to self, we'll do an episode on hidden tracks, and Andy will probably invite you back to go through it. But before we move on to 06, I really we need to talk about. I'm just going to do 2 more, so please humor me. And then we'll come on to like Pitch Shifter's Infotainment.
Nice.
The end of that era of Pitch Shifter, the end of that sound of Pitch Shifter. I find their journey really, really interesting. Because again, they were so anti-success, anti-mainstream. That was their whole ethos. Like I remember one of the things I really regret throwing away was all of the like anarchist stickers and flyers of old Pitch Shifter shows from early 90s onwards, and I used to have a whole folder of them. I threw them away like an idiot. I think Infotainment was the last of that, and then they signed to Geffen, and they were playing on MTV Spring Break, and they just became the complete opposite of, it's like we want to be LA rock stars now. And I always found that quite disappointing. But I love this record. It's not my favorite Pitch Shifter record. That would be Desensitized, I think. There's a bill with Neurosis, Pitch Shifter, and I want to say Carcass. I think there was a tour, Carcass, Pitch Shifter, Neurosis, only in the US. But yeah, that's one of the. I think they might have taken Bloodlet out at the time as well. So again, they don't make bills like that anymore.
I think they genuinely don't. That's the thing. It's kind of sad. I love that record as well. That probably is my favorite Pitch Shifter record. I love Desensitized, and I've got a soft spot for the latest stuff as well. But I love that record. It's the first one I heard, and it's a lovely little kind of little moment when. Because I bought the CD. I bought the CD at I'd found Selectadisc by then, which was the Nottingham's big record store. I still much missed. I still formative memories in that place. And I bought the CD, and I was just walking out the store, sort of holding the CD, coming out of the bag, bumped into Mark Claydon, who happened to be
nice.
Obviously he was Nottingham boy, same as me.
Yeah.
And he was like, "That was a good choice." I didn't realize who it was until I got home later on, and I'd seen a picture, and I was like, "Oh God!"
Well,
I met him a bunch of other times after that. Same with JS, but yeah, it was just one of those little kind of pink moments.
Yeah.
When I did music at college, now I'm just having a look at kind of the timeline here. One of my personal tutors was Jim Davies, who was in the Prodigy.
Oh, nice.
But he was also in Pitch Shifter. But actually, he was in Pitch Shifter from '98 onwards.
Yeah, he was .com era onwards.
Yeah. So that was kind of like, I had heard of Pitch Shifter, but then when I went to college, and they're like, "Oh my God, it's Jim. He used to be in like Prodigy and Pitch Shifter." I'd be like, "Oh my God, it's Jim." But then we'd just like, in our kind of one-to-ones, we talk about kind of like how I'm getting on, but then we just talk about bands and music. I remember one time he was like, we were talking about hardcore bands, and I can't remember what I was into at the time, but we got onto the topic of Quicksand, and he was like, "Who else in like your class would have heard of Quicksand?" So then we were just like talking about all that as well. So not that I've really listened to Pitch Shifter, but that's kind of like my little nugget.
That was awesome. And to be fair, I could talk about quicksand until the cows come home. So I need to hook up with Tim Davis apparently.
I think Pitch Shifter and Quicksand went out on tour together. I think US shows. If you worked backwards from the last Pitch Shifter records to Infotainment, like if your start was like PSI or whatever, I think, or Deviant, I think that would be quite a difficult listen going back to Infotainment and Desensitized and things.
A lot of the sneers gone. I think it's interesting. It's definitely a bridging record between that and .com. A lot of the kind of the dance input is there. You can kind of hear it. I mean, it's harsher, and a lot of that kind of sneering vocal is maybe missing. It's like he'd taken some lessons from the Sex Pistols between the two. And it is just it's a harder vocal. So it will be a hard listen, but not as hard as if they'd gone straight to Desensitized or Brighter, because that was they were harsher records.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, last bit of 96, because we need an opportunity to discuss this era, is Diatribe, Napalm Death. What an album. What a period for Napalm Death. I will stand and die on the hill of through Fear, Emptiness, Despair to words from the Exit Wound, with Diatribes and Inside the Torn Apart in the middle, and just banger after banger. Just you know, there is like a just a total Helmet riff on this, and it's going to annoy me because I'm not going to remember what. Take the Strain, I think it is, which is just a flat out Helmet riff, but just done so well, just with that, you know, with that Napalm vibe.
That's one of the reasons I love that record, because the first 2 or 3 records, you kind of see that they were inventing something, and they were inventing it as they were going along and then tweaking it. Whereas this record and Fear and Emptiness was kind of the start of that kind of journey. You could hear them starting to bring other influences in a little bit more and cross-pollinating in a little bit more. You could hear kind of some of the groove metal stuff coming in. You could that particular riff is kind of blatant, but there's other little Helmetisms in there as well. In places, there's a little bit more stop-start jaggediness to it, and a little bit of noise rock in there in places as well, or the nascent early noise rock that was happening, kind of the AmRep stuff from the early 90s. And I think that's why I really liked that era, because they were just playing with the formula a little bit. They'd realized they didn't want to get stale. They wanted to do something that allowed them to play a little bit more, and you could just sense them opening up a little bit more. It was actually kind of a little bit disappointed when they kind of closed down a little bit. And
I think it was I mean, really it's all Shane's influence. Like, Shane is just an absolute music vacuum, you know, and he's the one wearing the Swan shirts and Cardiacs and Sonic Youth, and you know, I don't think his legacy and input is respected enough for extreme metal. He's so understated as a writer and a musician, and I think it took them a while to start to bring that stuff back in. And I think Utilitarian in 2012 was where they started to pull that vibe back in, which I loved. That's another one of my favorite Napalm records, and I can't wait to see what they do next. You know, I think naturally they're going to have to slow down, because
oh, I don't know. Have you seen them live lately? I mean, they are still.
I have. I talked about this last time. I don't really rate them live at the moment.
Really?
No. Personal opinion. Other opinions are available. I think they need to lock into their songs better than they do currently. Some of the riffs get lost, I think.
I think the challenge is maybe because I saw them last 3-4 years ago, maybe. I haven't seen them recently, and it wasn't in a massive space, so the sound was really good. I think sometimes the challenge is at the moment they seem to be playing quite big stages, and that's fine. So if the sound's great, then that works. But for me, they're always going to be a small hall band. That they're always going to
Funny,
be
I think I
tiny
said
sweat
something similar to that. Yeah, you need them in the 200, 300 cap venue.
Yeah.
You need to be up in their face.
Yeah,
and
that experience is just it's electrifying. I'm not I haven't seen them in a big room. I'm not sure how much I'd enjoy it. I think they're playing Arctangent this year, so
Yeah, they
I
are.
look forward to being proved wrong. But I have to admit, I'm struggling to see how they're gonna fare on a big tent stage. But I'll check them out.
Well, we didn't stick it out at Damnation, did we?
We didn't. No,
Well, they were
band.
Like last on, right?
11 o'clock. No band needs to start at 11 o'clock. You know, do they know how old we are? 96. What a year. What a year that was for metal. And what I really hope is people are going to listen to this and go, I need to go and listen to that record now. You know, I hoping we're going to be doing a service. So
you know what, I am going to go and listen to that Neurosis album, because I think I've mentioned it in another episode, because I came to metal kind of obviously quite late in the Neurosis timeline, and I really wasn't a fan of that genre at the time. You know, I think I can't remember what year it was, 2005, 6, whatever. And I was like, no, Neurosis isn't for me. And I've never, ever gone back. Although I know that the music I like now, I'd really appreciate it now. So I will go back.
Neurosis is an era thing as well, right? So it's like a bit like Sepultura. There's distinct eras of Sepultura. There is for Neurosis. So what you might have heard is kind of the Times of Grace post that era, which is a lot more sparse, cut back. The Steve Albini production for a couple of albums. So I mean, that gives you a feel for what it's going to sound like. Through Silver and Blood is quite different. So there's sort of industrial components to it. There's heavy use of samples in places as well. Same as the 2 albums prior to that, both of which are also genuinely fantastic as well. So that 3 album stretch is different from the Times of Grace post piece, and the albums prior to that were kind of this sort of dirgy punk, basically. But yeah, there's a 3 album sort of jolt in the middle, which it sounds different from pretty much everything else they did. So it is well worth checking out that little 3 album stretch, because they're all genuinely incredible records, and they're all quite so. Souls at Zero, Enemy of the Sun, and obviously the one we've been talking about, Through Silver and Blood. Those 3 records are fantastic. They are very different from the stuff that they did towards the end of their career. Well, from the middle period towards the end.
Sort of post Times of Grace is where it's Sovereign and stuff like that is where they really started to change. And that's where I saw Neurosis the most, but I did see them on the Times of Grace tour with Today Is a Day and Voivod.
Okay, because Today Is the Day is a day. They put out a banging record in '96 as well.
They did. What the hell have I just spent 40 minutes talking about it, and I've forgotten about my favourite Today Is a Day record? I tell you what, if you want to feel horrible with a duo of records, Through Silver and Blood, Temple of the Morning Star, listen to those 2, and you'll have to have a shower afterwards.
Yes, that's the best way of putting it. You will feel like you need to get clean.
I can't believe I missed that one.
I think I saw Neurosis. It would have been either 96 or 97. I think they did a UK tour. They played the Second Room in Rock City in Nottingham, and there were just them and Iron Monkey opening. Oh mate, it was, because this was Iron Monkey in their prime as well, and they were going for it, because they knew it was a room full of people that were there to see Neurosis. And they were incredible. They were like a bomb going off in that room. And then Neurosis got up, and they were a completely different vibe, but it was just as oppressive in a different way. It was fantastic.
That's a disgusting period. And do you know, I've just realized that 96 was the Union Mill issue of Iron Monkey's first EP. So I've forgotten a couple of real bangers.
And that's an absolute smasher of a record, that as well.
And this is just shows what 96 was. Like, we're sitting here, we've talked about so much good stuff, and then I'm like, I forgot about Today Is a Day and Iron Monkey. So we've spent so much time.
I know. We've got 2 whole more decades to do yet.
I'm so sorry. Like, Oh, is this going to be like a 3 hour long Chariots of Fire style podcast? Basically, this is going to be like the 10 Commandments of podcasts. So buckle up, everyone. Right.
Pod Destroyer is not filmed in front of a live studio audience. Metalmance and Beardodoom are not trained professionals, and as such, it is positively encouraged to try this at home.